everybody. Welcome to a very special edition of H2OMG, where we're talking with Chelsea Miller, the Executive Director of the Fort Worth Drowning Prevention Coalition. Hi, Chelsea.
Hi, John Michael. Thanks so much for having me on.
Thank you for doing this. And we've also got here with us virtually Michelle Birmingham.
Hello.
And Becky Begley.
Hello.
Yeah, I think you've heard both of them on previous episodes, dear listener. So, they work in conservation. And, so we're here talking to Chelsea about pool safety. How long have you been working with the FWDPC, and how did you first get into it?
Yeah, so I started working with the coalition about 2 years ago, and I actually started as our volunteer coordinator. And so when I came into the coalition, I have absolutely no background in aquatics or water safety. I was working on my master's in social work, and I was looking to find organizations that were seeking to do better things in the community. And additionally, I was looking for an opportunity to be able to work remotely. And so when the coalition came up with the request looking for a volunteer coordinator, it sounded like a perfect way for me to match my, logistically, right, the things that I was looking for in a job with also the things that I was passionate about. And quickly, when I joined the coalition, I came to understand the need for drowning prevention education in a way that I had never understood before. And I think it's a really, really awesome organization, and I've been super excited to have been with them. And so last October, I actually transitioned into the executive director role. Pam Cannell, who was the executive director, the founding executive director of the Fort Worth Drowning Prevention Coalition, she moved on to an amazing opportunity for her family. And she still sits on our board, and she's very actively involved in the drowning prevention world. But we transitioned, moving me into the executive director role then.
Did you start out like in the pool with the kids and helping out and like work your way up?
Yeah, so a little bit. So when I came on, we were actually in the planning phases for the summer. And so I got to be a part of a lot of things on the front end. And then I actually got to spend my summer in and on deck and in the pool with kids before I moved into the ED role. And so it was really, really fun to be able to see programs run and function in a normal summer setting right before I transitioned into that role.
I'm so sorry. Can you guys hear my email beeps? Okay. Well, the audience is going to hear it. So let me see if I can. Oh, God, this is so stupid. And today, I've been getting so many emails today. It's just.
We're all going to have the same problem when they come in. It's going to go doo-doo-doo-doo.
Yeah, but this is plugged like right into my computer, so it is like loud.
Oh, okay.
For the people. There comes another one.
Oh, wow.
See?
I didn't hear the first one, but I did hear it.
I think if I'm just going to close it. I don't know. Okay, sorry. This is like, usually the one that we did about 47 meters down with the shark movie went like smooth, so smooth. We didn't have any problems. And now that we have an outside guest who we're trying to impress, everything's going wrong. So, of course, let's see.
Yeah, we did that one remote too, and it was like
Zoom. Nothing. I didn't get a single email that whole episode. Anyway, I think you want to ask the next question, Michelle?
Sure. So Chelsea, can you tell us about where our state and county rank in terms of drownings?
Yeah, so I can give you as clear of a picture as I possibly can. Right now, there is no one place that collects drowning statistics. And so we get those statistics from a variety of places. USA Swimming actually does a great job of compiling a list as much as they can. But these are going to be conservative numbers. And I'm going to use some information based off of the last few years as well. So those numbers will be a little bit more accurate, but the ones for 2020 are are going to be more conservative. So in 2019, Texas actually ranked number 1 for pediatric pool drownings. So that means out of the entire nation, the state of Texas had the most pool drownings for children. The statistics about child drownings are much easier to track than for adults. And so we don't have as much clear information about adult drownings. Tarrant County consistently ranks in the top 2 for the state for number of drownings in the county. Now, I will say that is not per capita. So Tarrant County is a big county, and that's probably why we're consistently in that top number. But I think it's important to note that we have a lot of bodies of water. There are a lot of in-ground pools. There are a lot of ponds, rivers, lakes, all really, really close to our county borders or within our county. Did I answer your whole question, Michelle?
Yeah.
I will add, John Michael. So with COVID-19 specifically this year, which I didn't touch on yet. So with COVID-19 specifically this year, we've actually, in the time frame between May 1st and June 15th, MedStar has seen a 120% increase in the amount of drownings they've responded to. And so there have been 11 total drownings just in that time frame, and we're continuing to see them come in. So up to that point, we had 29 drownings for the year. Again, these are conservative numbers for the state of Texas. So 29 confirmed drownings. And that ranged a variety of water sources, some pools, bathtubs, lakes, rivers. But also in that time frame since then, we've had 11 in the state.
So,
do y'all count the, because I just came up here from the Houston-Galveston region last summer, and I know that almost every weekend there's a drowning in Galveston Bay.
Yeah. So open water definitely is counted in those numbers as well. So any open water source, so we're talking the coast, lakes, any large, what are those things called? The galvanized buckets that people have outside of their house on ranches.
Oh yeah.
Troughs.
Yeah, like the troughs, kind of the drinking trough things.
Yeah. So that includes all those numbers. Then they're typically split between like open water and at home. And so at home drownings are going to include your pools, spas, bathtubs, buckets, which we always say, so a child can drown in 2 inches of water. So it happens very, very easily. And people just don't realize how quickly and silently it happens also. But with COVID-19, we were expecting to see an increase in drownings because 1, parents are looking for things to do with their kids to keep them entertained. 2, many lifeguarded pools aren't sure how they're going to open, or they are reopening late. And so that's leading people to bodies of water that are not lifeguarded, or having them congregate to overcrowd backyard pools or neighborhood pools. And with the restrictions lifting, people are desperate to get out and go and do.
Yeah.
And so we expected to see this increase, although we've been working very, very hard to try and do as much as we can to prevent it.
Yeah.
Are most of these drownings due because, and I know you mentioned a variety of ways, because people don't know how to swim, or is it because children aren't being watched properly? Like, I'm sure it's a combination, but is there one that's dominant that, I don't know how y'all determine how it happens, but.
So it's really hard to say for sure. And that's one reason. And I think, John Michael, you have this further down, and I'll just touch on it. That's one reason we talk about layers of protection or barriers of protection, because all these factors influence whether a child drowns. Supervision is, of course, always going to be the number one reason. And what MedStar and the fire department, what they hear the most often is, I just look down for 2 seconds. I just turn around for 2 seconds. And that's actually why our slogan is 2 seconds is too long to turn your back on a child in the water. Because so often a parent looks down to check a text on their phone while their kid is in the bathtub or when they're swimming. they've got a number of kids out there. They think everything's good, or another parent is sitting out there and they're, oh, that parent's watching. I can go in and grab a snack for everybody. And no one has actually, had a designated water watcher. No one really knows who's paying attention to the kids. There's 4 or 5 children swimming in the pool, and one child slips under and you don't see it. And so I think a lot of times we would say supervision is like the number one layer of protection. The number one strategy for preventing a drowning is going to be that close. And we say touch supervision too. So even being on the edge of the pool or in the water with your child. But a child learning how to swim, of course, is another very valuable layer of protection that you can provide. And so swimming education is one way that you can help prepare your child to be in the water. We also talk about life jackets. So if your child is a weak swimmer or hasn't had formal swimming lessons, a Coast Guard approved life jacket or a puddle jumper, those are going to be great strategies for helping to create another layer of protection.
Can you also talk about I actually had 2 things. One is the silent drowning, because people think that drowning is noisy and loud. And then the other thing about protecting your pool when you're not swimming, with those layers of protection.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, 100%. So we say drowning is quick and silent. So Hollywood plays up drowning to be this very dramatic splish splashing. You see a child waving their arms in the air, hollering help, and you can see what's happening. Most of the time, that is not what it looks like. Drowning is often quick and silent, where a child drops. So they were in water that they could touch in, and then all of a sudden there's a little drop off and they just get too deep. Their head goes under. They're not making any noise, right? Because their face is under the water. And they're not splashing because they're putting their hands underneath the surface to try and pull themselves back up, right? That's our reaction. And so oftentimes, because it happens so quickly and because it happens silently, people don't know what to look for, or they miss it. And so we talk about when you see, when you're supervising, right, potential signs of distress really are if a child's head goes under, and you don't immediately see them bob back up. If their head doesn't immediately come out of the water, you have reason to be concerned. And so we teach a couple of things related to that. So we teach yell, go tell, which is yell, hey friend, are you okay? And then if they don't respond, go tell an adult or a lifeguard or someone who can get them aid as quickly as possible. And then we also teach throw, don't go. So you want to get something out to them that floats, that can help get their head above the water, but you do not want to try and go in after them. That's another big mistake that people make in trying to help a drowning victim, is to jump in the water to try and save them. And oftentimes what happens, unfortunately, is that person gets pulled under. And even if the original drowning victim survives, the saver actually ends up drowning. And so that is really, really sad, and we hate to see that. And so we encourage the throw, don't go model. You can, if you find a hook or a pool noodle or anything that's laying around, you can lay your body on the edge of the pool and reach in with it. Or if you have a lifesaver ring or something that floats, that you can throw into them. So we always encourage that. As far as your own pool, if you're looking to create safeguards around your pool, there's several different things you can do to help create those safety measures. So the first one we talk about is creating a family safety plan. So thinking about, as a family, right, if my child was going to get to the pool, how would that happen? So is there, a back door that's between them that you can make sure is locked at all times? Do we have a gate around our pool that would prevent them from getting through? Is there any type of alarm that sounds if someone opens the gate? Things like that. Those are things that you can add, and protective measures that you can add based on the results of your family safety plan, right? Having conversations with your kids about why it's important to never go near the pool unsupervised are always going to be super beneficial. So of course, that's not the only thing you want to do, right? Because we know that you can sometimes say things to your children until they're blue in the face, and then they go and do it anyway. But starting those conversations and talking about it is always another one of those layers of protection, right? Another thing that we really encourage is if you have any backyard toys, make sure all those toys are put away after you play with them. So there's no potential that something could blow into the pool and then a child would try and go in after it. So that's another thing that sometimes happens. So making sure those toys are put away, never letting your children play in a backyard with a pool unattended, even if you have a gate and an alarm, always having adult supervision in the backyard, even when you're not swimming. And that's, I mean, I'll go back to it over and over again, but supervision, again, the most important layer of protection that you can create in your home.
Yeah, my son also has a net system that goes over the pool. And so on days when they're not going to be in the pool, the net is on the pool so that if someone falls in the pool, they're not going to go under the water.
Yes. Yeah. And anything like that, as much as you can do to cover or prevent, those things are going to be super beneficial. The only thing I would say is that sometimes those tarps that people get to pull over their pool, sometimes they can actually, if someone falls in and they get caught in that, it can be troublesome. So in Texas, I know specifically there's some regulations and codes for backyard pools. And so I encourage families to look up those specific codes and make sure that their pool adheres to those. A lot of those things are in place for safety. And I believe that one of those, there's a specific height that your gate has to be and how close it has to be to your pool and all those things. And so gates are awesome. We like gates and locked doors and alarms.
I do have to say, I have easy access to a pool. I have 2 children and I have lots of nieces and nephews. And we do a lot of pool time, especially now since we don't have many options of where to take all the children. And we always designate somebody to watch the pool when we're there, always a minimum 2 adults, because there's usually at least about 7 children in the pool at once, ranging from about 12 to 5. And some strong swimmers, some not so strong. And yeah, I mean, we've still with that, always 2 adults. We've had close calls before. I've had to jump in a couple of times and yank out a kid. So
hey, Michelle, throw, don't go.
Oh, right. Yeah, I know. I thought about that. You know what, though? You're right. But as an adult, your
I know.
Reaction is just, I mean, fully clothed. We've gone in fully clothed. Thankfully, no phones have been harmed in this. But you're right. When you said that, I thought of that. I was like, ooh, I think every time we've like actually completely jumped in.
Well, I think though that you're in your backyard pool, you know if you can stand up in your pool.
That's true. They were in the shallow end, but it just goes to show you your natural reaction
is to jump in.
Just to jump in after them. So, and I will say this: the floats and stuff. You talked about not having toys in the pool. So my mother-in-law last year bought this gigantic floaty. It was beautiful. It was like a cloud with a rainbow on it. I am not joking. It took up about 1/3 of the pool. It was obscene. The children loved it. We, as in me and my sister-in-law, absolutely hated it because you could not see under the float. It was too gigantic. And, you know, the kids start roughhousing and then they're like, I can swim underneath it. And we had a couple of times where like a kid went under and then was trying to come up and didn't realize, hey, there's other kids on it. I can't pop it over. And then they start panicking. So my mother-in-law loved it. Me and my sister-in-law put a pin in that thing.
What if your mother-in-law is listening to this episode?
She won't listen.
Okay.
And we destroyed it. And this year she brought a gigantic dragon and we said, no. So
that's funny. Sabotage. Sabotage is another layer of protection.
Sabotage.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, those giant floaties are really cool, but with kids, it's,
I didn't even think about that because I used to love swimming up under stuff like that and like acting like I was in a submarine or something. But when you're a kid, it doesn't seem dangerous. But that's a good point.
Yeah.
Well, and Michelle, you make such an important point because obstructions to your vision, right, are always going to be things that we want to avoid. And so we talk about that too. Are you in a place where your vision is obstructed at all in the pool? Is there anything in the pool that would obstruct your vision from being able to see under the surface? And so it's another, again, right, layer of protection, right? Whenever we are sure that we avoid those obstructions. So I think your mother-in-law had a good heartedness. It was a nice thing that she did, but
it was meant.
I'm with
beautiful
you.
Photos. Yeah, but sorry.
What did you use to pop it? Was it like a kitchen
Like
knife?
a thumbtack.
Okay.
Silently in the
Just
night.
checking.
Oh no.
I just wanted to get
a good visual of that.
Yeah.
Doo-doop, doo-doop.
Yeah, y'all got to watch out for me. I'm sneaky. Oh, okay. You don't want to get rid of the float? Oh, it's going to magically deflate tomorrow morning. Yeah.
Oh, no.
People.
So, Chelsea, I know that swimming lessons are probably pretty important, right? And my two youngest grandchildren have taken the infant survival classes. What do you guys, what's the progression of classes that you all recommend for children to help with the drowning issue?
Yeah, so absolutely. I'm not going to speak too much on ISR. It's actually a little bit of a controversial subject in the drowning prevention world. Some people really love ISR. Some people really hate ISR. The Drowning Prevention Coalition doesn't take a stance either way.
Yeah, I will say, though, it's amazing that when my youngest granddaughter was 8 months old, my daughter-in-law sat her on the side of the pool and tipped her in head first. She flipped, came up, floated, and went to the side at 8 months old.
Yeah.
It was pretty amazing.
It's amazing. Yeah. And with a good instructor who knows what they're doing, they're going to teach your kids amazing things. Yeah. I think the place we always get into trouble with things like ISR or even regular swimming lessons is that parents think, oh, my kid's fine. If something happens, they can save themselves. And I don't have to be paying as close attention. And not that parents are being neglectful, right? I don't think we do that. I know for me, right, I've got a 1-year-old, and when he knows how to do something and I've got other stuff to do, I'm thinking, you're probably fine, right? And so we want to think that. But with water safety, there's never a time, even when your child is a proficient swimmer, that they should ever be swimming alone. In fact, that's another one of our big things is that no person should ever swim alone. So even as an adult, you should never be going to swim in any body of water by yourself. And that's, again, a layer of protection, right? So not that when you're an adult, the person with you isn't quote unquote supervising you, but they're helping to make sure that if something does happen, there's someone else there to make sure that it doesn't end in tragedy. Yeah. But as far as progression of swimming education, so I would say for littles, ISR is certainly an option. Another thing you can do if you're not as comfortable with ISR is just helping to teach comfort in the water. So we talk about how important it is to, splash your kid's face when they're in the bath, or if you take them to the pool, allow them, count with them and don't just like dunk them under, but give them an opportunity to get their face wet and pull them out with them and praise them whenever they do that. Teach them how to blow bubbles in the pool so that they learn how to blow water out of their mouth when their face is underwater. So all those things are going to be great and important things for helping to make sure that your kid doesn't panic when they get in water and they know what to do if their face gets wet. So that's something that every parent can do at any stage with their child. The next progression, so what we offer usually, not outside of COVID-19, right? What we offer usually is water safety education courses. And so the great thing about water safety education or drowning prevention education is that we provide an introduction to swimming. So we start off teaching those basics of comfort in the water, helping a child get used to being in the water, letting them practice back floating. We help to teach them then if they fall on their face, how to flip to their back. We teach them if they get in water too deep for them, how do they bob to the edge of the pool, scaling the wall to get out of the pool, to climb out. We call it monkey crawling. So monkey crawling to a ladder if you don't feel comfortable pulling yourself out, although we do try and encourage them elbow, elbow, knee, knee, right up and out of the side of the pool. We're going to teach them treading water. So they're going to have the opportunity to practice treading, and they're going to have the opportunity to practice swimming out from like the middle of the pool back to the edge of the pool. Our program is designed for children ages 3, we say, to adults 103. So it's never too late to learn those skills, and it's never too late to find opportunities to learn those basics.
If you're 104, though, you will be turned away.
Yes.
At 104, we
sorry.
we cut it off.
Close the pool gate. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Yep, that's right. So the next progression we would recommend, right? So if you've been practicing cover in the water, you decide to do like a drowning prevention education course. So teaching them what to do if they get in water too deep. At the end of our course, they also get a properly fitted life jacket. So we've given you another layer of protection that you can take home with you. The next thing to do would be to take formal swimming lessons. And so we actually, for people that go through our program, we try and scholarship them for continued swimming education so that they get at least a month's worth, so 4 classes of continued swimming lessons, formal swimming lessons. And we're grateful for partners like the YMCA in Fort Worth, the Metropolitan YMCA, as well as the Fort Worth Swim School and Sigma Swim, who are all providers that allow us to partner with them to try and get kids plugged into that continued swimming education. But swimming education, doing it it's not a one and done deal, right? So you don't learn one time and you can never go back and learn again. We recommend doing some type of refresher course with your kids at the beginning of every summer, whether that's going back to get like formal swimming education or just going back over if you're a good swimmer and you're familiar with the things that they teach, going back over with them the basics and making sure you practice those things together before you actually go out and do a free swim. That you're going to want to continue to keep up those skills so that you can continue to keep yourself safe.
Yeah, I remember that when I was a kid, me and Dwight Eisenhower, swimming together back in the 50s. We had took them every summer. At the beginning of the summer, the first 2 weeks of summer, we're taking swimming lessons. I mean, all the way from when I was 3, probably till I was 6 or 7, we had swimming lessons every year. And it just, it got more advanced every year, eventually we were learning the different strokes and things like that, but it was all about being in the water and, that safety refresher. I mean, I still remember that. And it's been, a lot of years.
I was going to say, I did a swimming, same thing in the 80s and 90s. Now I'm dating myself.
There we go.
And I did it at the community pool.
That's what we did ours.
Yeah, it was the Marine Creek pool on the north side. And me and my brother, every summer, we'd go and take lessons there. And in fact, after we got pretty proficient, I'm not saying everybody should do this, but they probably don't allow it anymore. But me and my brother as youths used to walk there from my grandpa's house. It was like 2 blocks away by ourselves, each with a quarter, and would get into the Marine Creek pool, and we would hang out there all day.
Dang, you could have lived with me in the 50s and 60s. That's the same thing we did.
I think I'm one of those the last kids that got to do stuff. Yeah. But I always loved the community pool, and that's where we learned to swim, and we learned all the strokes too. And so I have a lot of fond memories of starting the summer in swimming classes and spending a lot of time. It was so
cold in the morning too. I mean, our pool was in Ohio, and it was really cold in the morning in the summer at 8 a.m.
That's totally different.
Yeah, it was bad. It was real bad.
Just to go back to ISR for a second to clear something up for me. On the cover of Nirvana's Nevermind album, where the baby is in the pool chasing a dollar bill, is he practicing ISR?
I don't know for sure because I'm not an ISR specialist, but I think it's probably safe to say that they were certainly trying to teach water safety with their album cover.
Gotcha. That's what I thought they were doing.
Wasn't that the point of that album, though, John Michael?
Yeah,
right?
They have a song called Layers of Protection.
Learn how to swim. I think I remember those.
We should have had that as part of this podcast.
I don't want to get sued by Courtney Love or whoever owns the rights. Let's see. I know Chelsea has to go pretty soon. I think we've got a couple more questions.
We need to talk about how they've changed, right, to making it more
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you
For
talked
the
about
summer.
you talked about your in-person classes, which is what you were doing up until pretty recently. So the transition to online, can you tell us about that? And was it a difficult transition?
Okay, so something I don't want to forget to mention is that as a part of our in-water program, our normal in-water program, there's the water safety education going on with children and adults, but there's also a parent and caregiver component of education where the parents and caregivers on deck are hearing testimonials from the fire department, the YMCA, from people who have actually lost a family member to drowning. And they're getting to hear ways that they can help create those layers of protection. And so we really believe that drowning is 100% preventable, but the way that we start to get to where we see a decrease in drownings is by really impacting the family system as a whole. And this is one reason I love the coalition I'm going to do a little social worker plug, right, for my social work background, because seeing this as a holistic issue, it's not just one thing, right, that stops a drowning from happening, but it's actually helping to impact the family structure as a whole, impacting the way that you live your life and your lifestyle with water, right? And so we know that these parents, most of the time when we have kids that go through our program, the parents are doing it because they don't know how to teach their kids. They don't have any of their own personal experience learning how to swim or being around water and feeling comfortable in water themselves. And so we want to make sure that we leave an impact on the parents too. And we love it when they get in the water with us. We've had families, I think our oldest participant to date was 86. And she was like a grandmother in the community, and she got in and learned. And she said, if I can do it, you can do it. And so encouraged everyone in her family. It was amazing. So many people got involved because they saw her doing it. And so it makes a huge difference when you rope the parents in and grandparents and older family members into what you're doing. So huge deal.
I just popped into your website for a minute. And so a lot of your safety trainers are volunteers?
Yeah. So we are 100%.
How do you do that?
Yeah, we're a grassroots volunteer-driven organization. So our lead trainer, Julie Jackson, she's going to hate that I mentioned her name in this. She likes to stay in the background, but she's amazing. And she's got years and years and years of certifications teaching people how to teach swimming. And so she actually wrote our curriculum. So the curriculum we use is unique to us. She wrote our curriculum, and it's designed where we, at the beginning of the summer, we train our volunteers to teach this curriculum. Julie trains them. And so then they get in the water, and we partner with amazing organizations like the Junior League of Fort Worth, the National Charity League, Young Men's Service League, who are all looking for volunteer opportunities for extended periods of time. And so most of our volunteers, they train at the beginning of the summer and they work with us, and they come back and they volunteer with us session after session. And so we love that because we get to have volunteers that kind of stick with us, but they also get to see the progression. And that's one thing our volunteers love too, is that there's 6 total sessions in each of our programs. And from the first session, you might have a kid that's really timid, doesn't even want to get in the water. And then session 6, you're seeing them flip from their face to their back and swim to the edge of the pool. And so it's just really, really cool. There's not a lot of opportunities where you get to see so much learning so quickly. And so it's really, really fun. And so a lot of the volunteer feedback we get is that our volunteers love that they get to see that when they volunteer with us long term. So,
Cool.
So yeah, thanks, Becky.
No, you're welcome, because I'm like, I want to do that.
Yeah. Come volunteer with us.
I'm going to.
Yeah. We love, I'll do it like a quick plug. We love new volunteers. We love bringing people into what we're doing. It takes about 120 volunteers to run our program, all 4 of our programs in the summer. And if we had more volunteers, we could serve more families. We have not hit max capacity for these pools. So if anyone who's
next
listening
summer
and volunteering, Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Next
nothing,
summer with
nothing
us.
I like better than being in a pool. So
Yeah. And we say you don't have to have been a lifeguard or be certified or anything. Julie does that training, and she teaches our volunteers the curriculum. So you will be prepared to teach. And it's really, really simple, right? Because it's drowning prevention and not formal swimming lessons. And so we try and keep it simple for our volunteers and simple for our participants.
very cool.
So pivoting to online this year, right? Because of COVID-19, we have not been able to offer our normal in-water program. And we waited as long as we possibly could because we really, really didn't want to cancel. But with not really knowing what the city, we partner with the city Fort Worth and the YMCA, Metropolitan YMCA, to be able to utilize their facilities to offer that. And they do that for us free of charge, by the way. So they're amazing partners. Because we didn't know what they were going to do with their facilities, we had to make a decision. Okay, are we going to wait and see what happens? Or are we going to pivot? And as we got to thinking about it and seeing the numbers coming out with COVID-19 and not necessarily knowing what the summer was going to look like, we didn't feel comfortable taking a risk. And so because it's very hands-on, we knew that we weren't going to be able to practice the best social distancing measures. And at best, we were going to have to limit the amount of people we took to at least a quarter of our normal capacity. And so our board got together. We've got a very, very active volunteer board. And we said, what can we do? Right? So what can we do that's going to make the biggest impact, that's going to get our reach out to the most people this summer? And so what we decided to do was our SwimSafe at Home program. So our normal programs are our SwimSafe programs. So we called this SwimSafe at Home. And SwimSafe at Home is a series of classes that are hosted on Zoom that teach children ages 3 to 12. So we specifically targeted it to children ages 3 to 12, teaches them critical water safety concepts. And so we cover things like understanding water depth in relation to your height. So most children don't have any idea. If you tell them they're 3 feet tall, they have no idea what that means. And so how do you compare that when you see that the edge of the pool says 3 feet? How do you compare that to how tall you actually are? And so we do some fun measuring, and we have a cute little mascot, Gigi the giraffe, that comes in and helps teach the kids. We talk about the importance of buoyancy and why you can wear a life jacket. And so we do one episode or one class that's a little cutie orange. So I don't know if you guys know this, but cutie oranges, when they are inside their rind, they float, but when they're outside of their rind, they sink. And so it's a really cool way to teach kids, right? When you wear a life jacket, it makes you float. If you don't wear a life jacket, you sink, right? And so very, very simple, very tangible for our young viewers. But then we introduce some more challenging concepts. So we talk about buoyancy and density in that class as well for our older kiddos to help them get a little bit more meat. And so the classes are really, really fun. They're very interactive, and we try and make them as enjoyable as possible for families to come back. So our SwimSafe at Home program, we're tried and true, right? So we usually do 6 lessons in the pool. So we did 6 classes for SwimSafe at Home. They're hosted live on Zoom on Tuesday and Thursday nights at 6:30. Each session runs for 3 weeks, and then we take 1 week off. So right now we're actually in our off week, and we're about to start session 2 next week. Okay. So we're really excited about that. So session 2 starts on June 23rd. And that will kick off the very first class in the SwimSafe at Home session. It runs for 3 weeks. And then at the end of that 3 weeks, the same way we would always provide a life jacket to our families on deck, we're sending these participants home with a life jacket as well. So they will be able to come. We, again, are an amazing partner with the city of Fort Worth. They have allowed us to use the Forest Park Pool parking lot to do a drive-through pickup. And so local families can come through and pick up a life jacket and a water safety resource bag that has a water safety children's book in it. It's got a coloring book. It's got a water watcher tag. So Michelle, you talked about this, right? How important it is to have a designated water watcher. We actually have tags that you can pass off, and it explains how you can designate a water watcher and how to do water watching shifts. And so that's really cool. and then a variety of other just fun little goodies, right? Along with the life jacket, and all that's free. The classes are free. You get the stuff for free. We're trying to get the information and materials out to the community as much as we can. Yeah. And so that's been our biggest online push this summer. And we do also, we're going to be for session 2, we're trying to add a new technological component just to trip me up, right? So our board said, hey, can you put it on Facebook Live too? And I was like, sure I can. So we're going to try and make that work as well. It'll be super fun, I'm sure. And then we're also going to have the videos from the first session available. If people just want to watch the videos, they can do that as well. Or if they just have particular ones they'd be interested in. So those will be on our website as well for available viewing.
Where do people go to register and find out more information about this?
Yes. So our website, fwdpc.org, they can go straight to our website. And there it's got a little banner at the very top that says we've pivoted. We're hosting online. Click here to register, and it'll take them to our events page. Or you can just click our events tab at the top, and it's going to take you down to register for each of the classes. So you register for each class individually. If you register for all 6 classes, at the end of each class, our participants get a little survey. It's not very long. Just ask them some questions for us to help measure our impact. And then at the end of the 6 classes, so at the end of the 3 weeks, then if they've completed all 6 classes and the surveys that go with them, then we send them an email for picking a time to come pick up their life jacket and water safety resource bag. And additionally, so for the live classes, if you register ahead of time for the live class, but you can't make it on that night, that's okay. You can watch the videos on demand at any point through the entire session. So we're able to keep all of those hosted on the cloud so that people can go back and watch them. So that's really great too. So we encourage people to register in advance, even if they know they're not going to be able to come that night, because then that prompts, our automated system after the class is over to send them the link to view on demand.
That's neat.
Yeah. It's cool. Yeah, it's a really cool.
And you guys did this pretty fast, it seems like.
Yeah, it's been crazy, you guys. I mean, I think just making the decision at the end of April to pivot, we have an amazing and dedicated volunteer board that has helped make it happen. We've tried to think about everything. So Zoom is great because you can use it on your phone and your computer. So we were thinking about people that wouldn't necessarily have computers at home, if they would be able to participate on a phone. We really, really just wanted to make it as accessible as possible. And so our hope is that we get as many people as are willing to come to hang out with us on Zoom, and that we hand out life jackets galore. So we'd love to see an increase. But we're excited about Facebook Live. I think that that's going to be a new fun element. So hopefully we'll invite more people in to participate with us. But yeah. It's crazy. It's a crazy COVID world we're living in. And so many nonprofits, so many nonprofits are figuring out how to offer their resources in a unique way. And so I'm just excited that we were able to do that. It certainly doesn't replace our in-water program. And we're encouraging all of our participants that hang out with us online this summer to come back and get on deck with us next summer, when hopefully things are back to a semblance of normalcy. But we know that we wanted to get as much information as we possibly could as quickly as possible, because we don't want to see one more drowning. We really don't. And that's our mission, and our goal is to see, like I said, we believe drownings are 100% preventable. And we know that with the proper education and awareness, families can be prepared to prevent those. So.
Thank you so much, Chelsea, for taking the time to do this.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys.
I can't wait to swim with y'all next summer.
It's going to be super fun. It's been pretty cool to be able to be at home and not in the 100-degree heat this summer. But I will say I do miss being on deck. I miss being in the water with the kids. So we're excited. We're excited to get back into it as soon as we can. But here we are, in our strange COVID world. Yeah. Just doing what we can.
Doing the best we can.
All hanging out in our living rooms.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Actually, I'm in Winterfell, so
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Yes, it's nice. I like
yeah,
it.
I always have to get a Game of Thrones plug-in.
She switches between Winterfell and Hogwarts.
Hogwarts.
And it just goes back.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to see every morning meeting. So
Yeah,
that's exciting.
I spend a lot of time in Key West in my background.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Thanks again. And sorry we
Yeah,
brought you right
sure.
up to your cutoff time.
No, that's okay. You're good. It's a personal, the 4:00 thing is personal. So it's not a big deal. Is there anything else you guys, I will do a plug too. I know we didn't get this far, but for social media, if people want to find us on Facebook, they can search us at Fort Worth Drowning Prevention Coalition. So I know it's a lot of words, but they can find us. They can find us that way. And the good news is nothing else pops up when you search that many words. So.